Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. It's Ukraine War Frontline update for the 26th of February 2024. If you don't know what the lines on my map mean, please pause the video and check out the key. Thank you to JR who has done the mapping again today. What a great guy. Genuinely, he's a legend. So we have no changes to the northeastern axis, the Kupiansk to Svatova to Crimea axis, which is good news. The ISW sort of confirms that there's positional fighting, but no confirmed changes there, which is very good news for the Ukrainians because there are claims that it's pretty tough up in Kupiansk area, that the Russian forces have amassed in a number of areas. You've got Zaporizhia, Kupiansk area, but also further to the south as well. So no changes to what's been going on in Sinkivka. No great confirmation of what Suriyat Maps has claimed as to there being Russian control of the northern part of Sinkivka there. No confirmation from Andrew Perpetua's mapping. If we come down to Bakhmut, we can see that both Andrew Perpetua and Deep State Maps are confirming what Suriyat Maps had previously claimed, that there was movement for the Russians around the north of Avdiivka, both north of this road coming in through Kromova and also south of that. So that is certainly still a challenging situation for the Ukrainians. Geolocated footage published on February the 25th indicates that Russian forces recently advanced north of Avdiivka. Now, that geolocated footage is actually where the 9 Ukrainian soldiers, the POWs, were executed by the Russians. So that is the war crime that's caught on camera. This war crime shows that the Ukrainians have lost this position to the Russians, as that was the trench they were surrendering out of before they were murdered. So that does show that the Russians have moved further to the west there. What else do we have to say? Well, no report says in the Bakhmut Ivnivska area, and this is their map to suggest both north and south of that road, the advances have been made by the Russians. Unfortunately, Russians did manage to break into Ivnivska and even entered the first streets. Heavy combat is ongoing, both north and east of the settlement. Russian advances were recorded. Actually, no, that's not the road that goes through Kromova. That's the one that goes down through Ivnivska there, actually. So that's right in Ivnivska, showing that there's been some engagements here. That's what Suriyat Maps has already stated, with Russian control over the first, or part of the first road on the eastern outskirts of Ivnivska there. So, difficult times for the Ukrainians in the northern area, well, I guess western area of Bakhmut there. And as we come down to the Avdiivka area, we can see a slight readjustment there, or minor gains for the Ukrainians in pushing the Russians back at Stepova. Some gains for the Russians north of Stepova, as according to Andrew Perpetua, on the way to Berdichi. And actually, some sad news from Berdichi in that area. If we go to look at some of the sources here, there is the first example of a destroyed, or certainly at least very damaged Abrams tank. I don't know how recoverable it is. This was the first bit of footage that came out, and this came out earlier today, and I was like, that tank will be taken out. So as soon as you see something as high value for the Russians as an Abrams caught on drone footage, you know that, I mean, you know how the Russians work, right? They absolutely sing to the rafters, or from the rafters, when they destroy or capture prominent Western donated Ukrainian equipment. You know, Bradleys and Leopards, they love it, and you can understand why, right? So if they see something like this, they will try their hardest to take it out. And it wasn't long until we saw this picture coming out concerning that same tank that has been geolocated to here, moving back from a fire mission towards the west. So I think this is a geolocation of it moving. I don't know where it is that it was finally destroyed, but certainly moving in this area initially. So that is going through Berdichi in towards Stepova, and yeah, unfortunately taken out. It's going to be in prime mortar, artillery and drone range for the Russians there. So yeah, sad news for that Abrams. And then as we move further to the south, we can see that all the mappers are showing some gains for the Russians here as they move through Lastochkerna towards Orlivka, towards Sonyenka. There are claims that they have taken Severny now, with evidence of activity in the middle of Severny. So let's go and look at some of these reports. As expected, Russian forces inside central Severny, which means that the small settlement is lost, says Null reports, citing this geolocated footage there. The Ukrainian forces have withdrawn from Lastochkerna, west of Avdiivka. Dmitro Lukovi, a spokesperson of the Operational Strategic Group of Forces for the Tavria region, confirmed. Additional reports of Russian advances towards Tonyenka and the probable retreat from Severny are reported. And that indeed led on to that footage that confirms that the Russians are in Severny. Now we have here Syriac maps saying Russian army continued the advance towards Tonyenka, taking control over the western forest belt, and Orlivka, approaching to Churilovsky Pond. So that is in these ponds around here. So the pond around Orlivka, I think that's going to be the pond that is being referred to there. But there are the ponds just to the south of Orlivka as well. So the Russians are moving pretty much steadily westwards along this whole line here, and that is particularly worrying for the Ukrainians. It would have been nice for them to have had fortifications, solid ones built in this area, but I think they're going to be relying on ones much further to the west there. As mentioned yesterday, there's not an awful lot apart from farmland and villages between Pokrovsk and the front line, so you would expect the Ukrainians to have really dug in. Well, you hope that that's taken place somewhere between there and Pokrovsk, rather than inviting the Russians onto Pokrovsk. And this was where the fortifications were rumoured to be being built, but it was fairly late in the day when the Ukrainians started properly going at that. Anyway, that is the news from Avdiivka. It is challenging for the Ukrainians there, that is for sure. And as we come further to the south, we have some gains for the Russians just north of Herivka, around the around Mariinka, just to north of Mariinka there, and going towards Krasnohorivka. That's a real challenge. Some extra gains just past that big mine that had been fought over a number of times previously. Really getting very close to Krasnohorivka now. We go to the ISW. The Avdiivka, I didn't really dip into it around Avdiivka. There's nothing that we haven't found out from other sources there. And then interesting here that Ukrainian forces reportedly regained some positions southwest of Donetsk city on the 25th, but there are no confirmed changes to the front line. A Russian mill blogger claimed that Ukrainian forces regained some positions near Solodka, and actually that's what we reported yesterday, which was some gains for the Ukrainians in pushing back around this area. However, Surat Maps, as mentioned, has the Russians gaining around the north of Mariinka, but also into the very southern area of Novomykhailivka here, taking control over the industrial complex just to the south and the cemetery just here as well. So yeah, worrying times for the Ukrainians in a number of places all along this eastern front line. So yeah, very challenging. Right, then we come down to the southern front line, and we're going to bypass Velika Novosilka. Not too much activity going on there, fairly positional and whatnot, as you can see from the ISW. And there's a little bit to say about the Robotino salient here, and in fact some good news for the Ukrainians, as Surat Maps has the Russians being pushed back in Robotino. I don't know if that's a counterattack or whether that's accepting that their initial overconfident claims of Robotino were a little oversold. Talking about this area, Global War Monitor saying yesterday that, or a couple of days ago, that the Ukrainians were pushed back and the Russians advanced into the village of Robotino with armoured vehicles and captured the southern part of the previously liberated village. That's here, but I have a feeling Global War Monitor goes a lot on what Surat Map says. And anyway, no reports claims of the Robotino-Verbovia area, no confirmed changes. Several small and somewhat larger attacks, mainly coming west of Robotino, were repelled. The attack, in which Russians landed infantry into the settlement, ended in the destruction of a whole Russian platoon and all of their infantry fighting vehicles as well. This is something I have shown you over several days, or at least I've referenced in my video. Here we had, I think it was 4 Ukrainians stopping 3 whole Russian units there, which is pretty incredible. There was another, there's been lots of footage actually coming out of Robotino that is worth looking into. So the Russians have had a hard time in trying to take areas around here. Ukrainians done a really solid job of defending it, but you just still have to wonder how long that is going to last. Here we have Russian forces storming the center of Robotino, and of course the question is, well, is that what they attempted and then were pushed back, or is that subsequent to this? I guess we'll find out. That was posted a couple of days ago, though, so my guess is that they attacked into there. I mean, it's pretty much all going to be grey zone, really. The Russians attacked into there and were subsequently repelled. Yeah, so that's Robotino for you at the moment. Just trying to think if there's anything else to say about the RSW mentions that there's a bit of an uptick in activity around the Kamyanska sector, which is as we go to the west towards what was the reservoir here. Kamyanska is that town that's kind of split in two by the river, Dnieper River, as it comes through the town there. So, yeah, that is the activity taking place around Robotino. And then we come to Krinky. No changes to the mapping there, but there's a few bits to say about that. The ISW mentions Krinky in that the geolocated footage posted yesterday shows that Russian forces marginally advanced along Ostap Vishny Street in Krinky. We'll go and look at that. So this is a Telegram channel claiming that Ukrainians destroyed some Russian paratroopers using FPV kamikaze drones in the Krinky region. That's been geolocated to here. Let's go and plug that into Google Earth and see where that finds us. Right, so that is confirming what Surat Maps has for Russian control, but then again, same caveat I have to bring up all the time: just because Russians are there doesn't mean they control it. If they have moved into that position and then been destroyed by FPV drones, then there's every chance that they don't control that position at all. As I mentioned before, though, it's challenging for the Ukrainians there. They've pulled out 3 of their 4 brigades that were working on the Krinky area, and I don't think that they have the ability to do anything more than just tenuously hold on to what they have and hope that is what they need in order to keep attriting the Russian forces in the area. But yeah, we'll see. Right, that's the end of the Frontline update for today. A relatively quick one. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and share. Really appreciate all your support. Take care. Speak to you soon.